Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at my Game Week 10 transfer plan. So this is not clickbait or anything. I am genuinely considering a -4, right? I have 2 free transfers, but I am still considering taking a -4, which will give me 3 transfers to make and play around with this team. I have a couple of permutations in mind, and I'll show you guys in this video. So if you guys are excited and you enjoy the video, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So a quick recap of Game Week 9. I don't have my scores up on the screen, but it has not been good. Now, I am recording this before the Spurs game, which is the last game of Game Week 9. So, I have 3 players yet to play, Maddison, Son, and Udogie in that game. So, we'll see how that goes. But I doubt I will be able to recover from the red arrow that I have right now. It's a 50% red arrow for the time being. So, it is quite a big ranked drop. And obviously, if you take a look at my team now on the screen for Game Week 10, you will realize a couple of mistakes that I've made. And I will own up to them, of course. Almiron has not been a great punt at all, right? I guess it was a little bit of oversight as to whether he would play the game against Crystal Palace. Now, I did kind of feel as if Newcastle over the weekend would do really well against Crystal Palace, and that's why I kind of wanted Almiron just as a punt. And Gordon, when I wildcarded in Game Week 8, was suspended, so that's why I didn't have Gordon, who I would have preferred, right? But of course, I went for Almiron, hoping that he would play in the Crystal Palace game as well, but of course he got back late from the international games, and there is Champions League coming up as well. So I should have considered the possibility that he could have been rested over the weekend, which was what happened, right? So unfortunately, I will have to deal with him, and he is one of my potential transfers out, right? And of course, another one is James Ward-Prowse, who's currently an issue in my team. Now, a lot of us, when we were wildcarding in Game Week 8, did not feel as if Ward-Prowse was kind of a threat, but because his position now has changed slightly, he was playing a little bit more of an attacking midfield position in the previous game weeks, or at least when he came over to West Ham. His starting positions was quite attacking, but of late, Souček has played in that role, and that has caused Ward-Prowse to drop further back to sit in the defensive midfield position next to Alvarez. So that has not been great at all. We don't really want a defensive midfielder, aside from the fact that Ward-Prowse is on set pieces, etc., has a great free kick in him. I don't see much attacking threat with him moving forward, so he is also an issue that I will have to address in my team. Now, aside from these 2 players, the rest of the team actually looks fine for Game Week 10. I have Areola in goal, who plays Everton at home. The backline is Burn, Udogie, and Cash, all with decent fixtures. Salah, Son, and Maddison are all fine as well. Crystal Palace away for Spurs isn't technically a game that I don't see Spurs being shut out completely. I definitely still think that they can get some returns there. And then up front, it's Haaland and Watkins. So everyone else is fine. I will have to deal with Ward-Prowse and Almiron, and these are my main issues currently. So there are a couple of players that I really want to bring in, players like Saka, players like Bowen. Others on my radar could even be Mitoma and even Diaby potentially as well. So let's head over to the Fantasy Football Hub transfer planner, and I'll show you guys a couple of my potential transfer moves. So on the screen is my team on the Fantasy Football Hub transfer planner, and let's now take out Ward-Prowse and Almiron, who are issues in my team that I don't think I want to hold even in Game Week 10, right? I feel like they are players that I need to remove immediately, and of course there are a lot of players that I want to bring in already. So I'm going to remove Almiron here and also remove Ward-Prowse in a little bit, but the players that I definitely want to bring in firstly is Saka. And if I remove Ward-Prowse, the player that I want to bring in is obviously Jarrod Bowen for Ward-Prowse. So if I do want to make these 2 moves, as you guys can see, I am minus 3.2 million in the bank now. So I'm 3.2 million short. And if I want to take Maddison out, if I want to keep Son and try to remove Maddison to free up the funds there, I only have 4.8 million in the bank. Now, of course, if I did this last night, when Bowen was still 7.3 million, I could have afforded it. I could have afforded maybe a 4.9 enabler, someone like a Palmer or a Souček. But as of now, because Bowen is 7.4, I'm kind of stuck. And I only have 4.8 million in the bank, so I can't really sell Maddison and go for someone that I can bring in that does have decent minutes as well. So because of that, I feel like I am a little bit stuck, and I may have to remove Son, right? So that's not something that I like. It's definitely not a spot that I'm comfortable with, and I do want to keep Son as much as possible. I will wait to see how the game against Fulham tonight goes, but I may have to sell Son if I do want to bring Bowen and Saka in. So let's say I sell Son, I will have 6.2 million in the 6.2 million to go for someone or go for an enabler that is around that price bracket. Now, unfortunately, it is not 6.5 million, which is the price bracket of Mitoma. So I can't reach Mitoma. I also can't reach Diaby, who's at 6.7 million. So I am kind of stuck in the options that I have. So I guess this kind of plays a little bit into what most of you guys are looking at as well, which are enablers. So I myself am considering a midfield enabler. So there are a couple, and I would consider enablers if they are less than 6 million, right? So I would say the first one that I'm considering is Pedro Neto. Now I will have enough money for him. He's 5.8 million, and his fixtures actually aren't the best in game week 10, but in terms of the alternating fixtures, now in game week, let's take a look at his fixtures. Let me see if I can bring it up here. So in game week 10, he has Newcastle, but Sheffield in the next game week, so game week 11, and then he has Spurs in game week 12, but then he has Fulham in game week 13 as well. And then after Arsenal in 14, in 15 and 16 is pretty good. It's Burnley and Nottingham Forest both at home. So what I mean to say is that his alternating fixtures are pretty good. So in that sense, if I bring him in as an enabler, come game week 11, I will also have transfers to bring in potential players that rotate well with Neto as well. So for the time being, I don't mind bringing Neto in. I could very well just bring him in here and just, hope that he gets something against Newcastle at home. But if not, I think his alternating fixtures are pretty good, and I don't mind having him as just an enabler for my team, right? So let's say I don't go with Pedro Neto. Another one that I'm considering, another enabler that I'm considering is actually Gordon. Now, his fixtures also aren't the best, but I think I kind of look at the Newcastle fixtures in a different light, because Wolves away and Bournemouth away are kind of the only easy fixtures technically from game week 10 to game week 14, because 11, 13 and 14 they have Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United. But the thing is, these are all home fixtures for Anthony Gordon, and these are fixtures I think Newcastle do well in. They're really, really good at St. James's Park. So he's also a player that I'm considering at 5.6 million. Now, another player that I potentially can go for is the other Brighton attacker, aside from Mitoma, that a couple of you guys are also considering, Adingra. Right, so 5 million, and his appeal is kind of slightly different from Mitoma. I in no way feel like Adingra can cover Mitoma, but I think for his price tag at 5 million and what he enables the team to look like, because I can have Bowen, Saka, Salah and Maddison and still have a Brighton attacker. Now, once again, I mentioned I don't feel like Mitoma would score less than Adingra. I definitely feel like Mitoma outscores Adingra, but I do feel like in these next couple of game weeks, Adingra will be able to get his share of the XG as well. He will be able to get chances in those games, and these easy fixtures kind of bring the attacking returns as well, and he's not shy of taking shots as well. So I do like him as an option. But we'll see, because I'm not fully comfortable with having a Brighton attacker. Even going for Mitoma will have a little bit of doubt as well, because their involvement in Europe just seems to have taken a toll on their team, right? In terms of injuries or in terms of rotation as well, these are all concerns for Brighton attackers. So maybe I don't go for a Brighton attacker, and I go for the other alternatives that I mentioned just now, like Neto and also Anthony Gordon, right? So just one last mention of an enabler that I'm considering at the 4.9 million bracket is Cole Palmer. So Palmer, he's on penalties. The reason why at 4.9 I don't think I go for Souček is because it seems as if Souček has the potential to be taken off slightly early for Kudus, whom a lot of West Ham fans feel like should be starting ahead of Souček. But I just feel like his minutes aren't as secure as Palmer. So Palmer, for the time being, seems like he's playing majority of the game, and also he's on penalties. What he offers is pretty good. Only problem is his fixtures aren't great. So again, if I bring him in now in game week 10, Brentford at home is not bad at all, but after that I will have to find a rotation for him, maybe bring in a defender in game week 11 that rotates well with him as well. So I do have Gehi. So Gehi is a player that Crystal Palace defenders rotate well with Palmer. So he's also a potential candidate that I can consider. So I've listed 4 enablers here, and one that I'm kind of ruling out which I did consider for a short while, is actually Douglas Luiz. Now, Douglas Luiz, of course, scored 2 goals over the weekend. Really good performance. And I actually do think like his role in the past couple of game weeks has changed a little bit from last season, where he was more defensive. He is getting a little bit more attacking this season, pulling off shots, and his numbers are improving for sure. Him being on penalties and at 5.5 million is very, very tempting. But I checked how many yellow cards he's on for the time being, and he is on 4 yellow cards. So that also puts me off slightly, right? And I don't think the benefit of going for him and taking the risk of him getting another yellow card and being suspended is a good enough trade-off, right? So because if I go for a player in this position, I really do want, especially Douglas Luiz, I really would be looking to start him every game week. So I don't think I would be willing to take that risk. So for the time being, these are the enablers that I'm considering: is Pedro Neto, Gordon, Palmer here, and also the last one is Adingra as well that I mentioned. So there we go, 4 enablers that I'm looking at. And this is, of course, selling Son, which I'm not completely comfortable with. So we'll see what happens here, but this is where I'm at. I'm kind of set on bringing in Bowen and Saka, but we'll see where I end up as well. Right. So for the time being, these are my transfer plans. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I am launching a new series this week as well, where I answer your questions in a video. Something like a preview video, but I'm going to call it the Your Questions video. So I'll put a link to the pinned comment as well in my community tab if you do want to contribute your questions there, or if not, you can just drop it in the comment section down below and I'll put it into the preview video. Right, so there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in more Game Week 10 content very soon. Bye bye.